He was a failed Austrian artist who rose to power as the leader of the Nazi Party in Germany, becoming chancellor and serving as dictator beginning in 1933. As dictator, he led Germany from the invasion of Poland in 1939 through the Second World War until his death in 1945, overseeing military operations as well as the tragic genocide of 6 million Jews and the deaths of millions of others. Of course, I'm referring to Adolf Hitler, but did you know that he also, ate poop? Hello, I'm Tamworth Grice. Welcome to my channel, the Tamworth Grice Files. Here you will find stories that are spooky, strange, fascinating, macabre, supernatural, and just plain weird. And in each instance, I have a personal connection to the story, so be sure to stick around to the end to hear about that. Also, please subscribe. Adolf Hitler had been afflicted since childhood with gastrointestinal difficulties, including painful intestinal spasms, constipation, diarrhea, uncontrollable flatulence, which is excessive abdominal gas, so much so that behind his back he was called Der Fartenführer, or the farting leader. Hitler's intestinal problems were inconsistent and intermittent. During times of stress, the problems flared up, but when his stress abated, so did his gastrointestinal symptoms. As one might guess, he was under considerable stress throughout his term as dictator, especially through the war. In addition, his vegetarian diet, which was high in fiber, contributed to his problem. Then, at a party in 1936, he met a physician named Dr. Theodor Morell, whose patient base consisted mostly of the wealthy. Morell had a reputation for unconventional treatments that he claimed were instantly successful, and this idea intrigued Hitler. In addition, Hitler's personal photographer knew Morell and recommended him. One of the cures administered by the good doctor was something called Mutaflor, a product manufactured by a pharmaceutical company in which Morell had a financial stake. The theory behind Mutaflor was the fact that Bulgarian peasants were supposedly known for having long and healthy lives. Some attributed this longevity to their gut flora, or the contents of their intestines. In 1917, a researcher found that a specific Bulgarian peasant did not contract dysentery during an outbreak, unlike his peers, and so the researcher isolated a strain of E. coli from the man's intestines with the idea that it was the person's gut flora that had prevented the dysentery. The pharmaceutical company created a capsule form cultured from the poo or fecal matter of a Bulgarian peasant of the most vigorous stock. It was marketed as a kind of probiotic. In the 1930s, Dr. Morell gave Mutaflor to nearly all of his patients, regardless of their symptoms, and of course, Adolf Hitler was no exception. Morell claimed Mutaflor would introduce beneficial bacteria into Hitler's troubled digestive tract and solve his GI problems. So every day, with every meal, Hitler took a capsule of cultured Bulgarian peasant poop to alleviate his symptoms. Hitler did experience some relief, which may have been due to a placebo or faith healing effect, for he was sure Mutaflor was a magical drug. Hitler would later say of Morell, quote, "Nobody has ever told me so clearly and precisely what was wrong with me. I have the greatest confidence in him," unquote. Soon Morell was administering other drugs to Hitler, many via shots or jabs. He injected Hitler several times a day with a mysterious drug cocktail, the contents of which he kept secret, except to say it contained glucose and vitamins. The reality was that it included such things as strychnine, methamphetamine, barbiturates, opiates, cocaine, and on the occasions when Hitler would be with his mistress, Eva Braun, Morell gave him testosterone extracts from bull's testicles, an early version of Viagra, to boost his libido. The injections of methamphetamines, barbiturates, opiates, and cocaine are believed to have turned Hitler into a hopeless drug addict by the middle of World War II. Meanwhile, his excessive gas and uncontrollable flatulence, intestinal spasms, constipation, and diarrhea continued, so Morell supplemented Mutaflora poop capsules with another product called Dr. Costa's anti-gas pills, which contained small amounts of the poisons belladonna and strychnine. Apparently, the severe gas or flatulent problems continued throughout Hitler's lifetime, in spite of the Mutaflora poop capsules. This is known from historical accounts and formerly secret, but now declassified documents that confirm Hitler suffered from severe, frequent, and uncontrollable flatulence. Nevertheless, even as some in Hitler's inner circle and other doctors close to the Fuhrer became suspicious of Morell's influence in treatments, Hitler never dismissed the doctor. The Fuhrer relied on Morell as his personal physician until the final days of the Battle of Britain in 1945, considering Morell a medical genius and taking his poop capsules until the very end. Now, for my part in the story, a few years ago, my brother and I became very interested in World War II, watching shows about it on the History Channel so much that his exasperated girlfriend, who didn't appreciate history as much as we did, began calling it the Hitler Channel. My brother got me interested in Hitler too, and then, because my brother was in the medical field and I was working as a medical writer, we both became intrigued by Hitler's health problems in general and his treatments by Dr. Morell in particular. As we began to research the topic, you can imagine our surprise when we learned about Hitler's excessive abdominal gas problems, and our shock when we learned he was literally eating poop several times daily in capsule form, although, of course, it had been treated. And our horror when we learned that Mutaflora, or the poop capsules, are still being sold today. In fact, marketing materials say Mutaflora is the only medical probiotic with good E. coli tailored to suit your lower gut and colon, with extensive studies that support clinical efficacy and safety in wide variety of conditions. Mutaflora delivers live Escherichia coli Nissl 1917 strain in viable form and suitable quantities targeted specifically to the terminal ileum and colon of the human gut. So what do you think? Is it odd that a world leader was afflicted with frequent and uncontrollable flatulence or excessive abdominal gas? Would you take capsules of poop if you needed to? Have you ever, before now, heard of Hitler's doctor's unusual cures? Are you surprised that Hitler's personal doctor, via injections of methamphetamines, barbiturates, opiates, and cocaine, turned him into a drug addict? Leave your answers in the comments. Thank you for watching. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe, because I really need subscribers. This is Tamworth Grice signing off. Until next time, stay wonderful, stay weird, and, as always, have beautiful dreams.